Hello guys, welcome back to our channel Biolab, and this is Vamsi here at Biolab. And in previous video we have discussed about the transmission and generation. Hope you all understood that one. If not, I'll be discussing once again while doing the NCERT series in the NCERT. I'll be discussing it once again. If you haven't understand that, please do not hesitate. You read your NCERT, understand it. If not, I'll be again covering it. Okay, in today's video we'll be moving a little further. We'll be discussing about human brain and central nervous system. We have completed PNS in the introductory videos. PNS is completed. If anyone haven't seen that, please go and watch it. And then up here we have completed the classification and functions of PNS. Now in this video we'll be only talking about the central nervous system, and in that we'll be talking about human brain. This brain is very interesting part. The human brain is very interesting part to study. It is, it is of lot of mysteries in it. Let's unlock one by one. We'll be talking about this one first. Now coming to central nervous system, we have already discussed that the CNS is the central nervous system. It is the center for information processing. Information processing. CNS is the center for information processing. We have already done this. Now human brain is the main component of CNS. So what is done by human brain? It interprets the data. It interprets the data which is coming from our sensory organs or sense organs through the nerve impulses generated, and it responds to it in a manner like see. Okay, teacher is taking classes. Now your ears are listening it, and they are sending some impulses to your brain about the teacher. Now brain sends information that please listen to it. It is very important for you. For your future it is very important. Please listen to it. Your brain tells. So what you do? Your ear listens very concentrated manner. It doesn't fall out about. It does not care about any other information. So like that, the brain and the nervous system and the central nervous system happen as a information processing centers, and they respond to it accordingly. So human brain, it is generally protected by the skull. We have seen in the locomotion chapter. The skull, we call it as the cranium. We call it as the cranium, the brain box, protected by skull. Now this is skull. See, this is your brain here. This part is your brain. Okay, this part is your brain. Not only the skull, below the skull there are meninges which protect the brain. So that is why I am drawing it. See, this is your brain part. This is your brain part. This is your skull part. This is your skull part, the cranium which we spoke about. So, yeah, this is your skull part. Skull. Okay, that is your skull part. Now there are meninges, or you can also tell them as layers which protect below the skull. They are present below the skull, which protect the brain. They are respectively dura mater, pia mater, and arachnoid. Dura mater, arachnoid, and pia mater. From outer to inner, I have told you that dura mater, arachnoid, and pia matter. So these are from outer side or outside to inside. So they can ask you a question that which of the following meninges is located in contact with the cerebral cortex. Cerebral cortex, it is a part of forebrain, will be coming just later. They can ask you which is more far away from the cerebral cortex. They can ask you like that. They can also ask you the part which is just below the skull. The meninges which is just below the skull. They can ask you like that. These are the three meninges. This is just below the skull. In front of this, you have your skull. After the pia mater, we have our brain. So now, let me show you in this diagram. This is your skull, I have told you. Below the skull, there is dura mater. This one, this zigzag line is dura mater. After this, below the dura mater, we have arachnoid. This is your arachnoid. Below this, we have our pia mater. This is our pia mater. Okay? Now see, I am repeating it once again. Skull, dura mater below the skull, arachnoid, below the arachnoid, pia mater. 1 minute, there is a reflection here. Let me close that one. Yes. Skull, dura mater, arachnoid, pia mater. Repeat with me. Skull, dura mater, arachnoid, pia mater. Skull, dura mater, arachnoid, pia mater, brain. So the meninges which is attached to the cerebral cortex of the brain is your pia mater. These are what? Meninges. We call it as meninges. Meanings or something, I just call them discs. Just remember as layers. Remember as layers. Okay. Now, got it? Got this one? Got this one? Okay. Any doubt? No. Okay. Let's continue. Our brain is perfect. Now, human brain is generally divided into three parts. Three parts of human brain. Of human brain. What are these three parts of human brain? Let's see. The first part is all known as forebrain. Second part is midbrain. Third part is hindbrain. All know this. These three parts. Forebrain, front side here. Midbrain, between forebrain and hindbrain. Hindbrain, back side, the last part of your brain. All know these, no need to tell. Now, let us see what are these consisting of respectively. First, we will be talking about forebrain. Yeah, the ink is completed, I hope. I will be using green color marker. Okay, I will be using green color marker. This ink I have to refill it. So we will be talking about forebrain first, then midbrain, then hindbrain. Three will be completing in this video itself. No need to hesitate. Okay. First we are talking about forebrain. What is this forebrain? Where it is located? What is it is consisting of? everything we see. So this forebrain, it is located in the front part of your brain, located in the location front part, consisting of here you will be getting confused, cerebrum, not cerebellum, cerebrum, thalamus, hypothalamus. Cerebrum, thalamus, hypothalamus. These are the three parts of your this forebrain. It is the front part consisting of cerebrum, thalamus, hypothalamus. Cerebrum, it is the major part of the brain. Major part. It is the most of the brain is constituted of cerebrum. Major part of not only forebrain but brain. Major part of the brain is your cerebrum. It is divided into two halves. There is a slight groove in between this cerebrum, and with the help of deep cleft, we call it as cleft. So let me show you. Actually, this is the whole cerebrum. This circle is not coming exactly. So see, this whole part is your cerebrum. Now, as we said, it is having a deep cleft which divides the cerebrum into two parts. So with this deep cleft, this cerebrum becomes into one half, this one. Before, the cerebrum was in a spear shape. Now we cut that spear into two parts. What happens? Hemispheres. So we call it as cerebral hemispheres. We call them as hemispheres, cerebral hemispheres, and this part is your deep cleft. Cleft means nothing but we have seen a gap. Deep cleft. Okay, we have seen a gap in synapse. Synaptic cleft is gap between the pre and post synaptic membranes. So like that only, there is a deep cleft here which divides the whole spherical this cerebrum into two halves, two hemispheres called as cerebral hemispheres, left and right cerebral hemispheres respectively. This cerebrum consists of most of the neurons. Neurons are more in concentration in the cerebral this cerebrum, and nerve fiber connects these two. There is a connection between these two. There is a connection between these two hemispheres, and that group of nerve fibers is called as corpora callosum. Corpus callosum, not corpora. Corpus callosum. Corpus callosum. This is the nerve fiber group which connects both the hemispheres, both the half of the cerebrum, both the half of the cerebrum. Now, a group of cells. It is a group of cells. There is a group of cells which have most of the foldings here. This is called as cerebral cortex. The outermost layer or topmost layer is called as the cerebral cortex. Interestingly, these have the presence of multipolar neurons. They have the presence of multipolar neurons, cerebral cortex. A group of cells, simply remember that. It is a group of cells, cerebral cortex. Now this cerebral cortex appears greyish in color. This cerebral cortex appears greyish in color. Due to the there are more concentration of nerve cell body. Dendrites are outside and nerve cell body concentration is more, so that is why grayish in color. Grayish cell body concentration is more, nerve cell body concentration is more, so that is why it is appearing grayish in color. Okay, grayish in color. Now this cerebrum is highly folded, and this cerebral cortex contains the areas for motor and sensory areas. They contain motor and sensory nerves, and they are not associated either in movement, like movement functions or sensing functions. That is why they are called as association areas, and they help in communication and memory. This cerebral cortex is containing association areas. This is very important. You have completed this and erasing this and writing here. This cerebral cortex is having association areas. Association areas which are responsible for memory and communication. Memory and communication. Association areas, they are responsible for memory and communication. They are neither involved in the functions of motor or sensory functions. No, they are not involved, but they are called as association. That is why they are called as association areas, and they help in the memory and communication of the brain. Okay, got it? About cerebral cortex, cerebrum, it is a major part. It is cut into two halves with a deep cleft into two cerebral hemispheres, and this connection between these two cerebral hemispheres is done by corpus callosum, and we have a cerebral cortex which is the outermost layer, and it is containing neuromotor neurons, and it is not involved in either function, so that is why they are called as association areas. And these association areas are mainly involved in the memory and communication functions. Got the functions? Got the functions? Any doubt? No. Any doubt? No. Now this cerebrum, it wraps or encloses a small part called as thalamus. This cerebrum wraps small part called as thalamus. It is wrapped by cerebrum. It is wrapped by cerebrum. So the cerebrum wraps the thalamus, and the thalamus is included in the functions of sensory, movement functions, language, etc. Now this thalamus overlaps another structure called as hypothalamus. This hypothalamus, it is wrapped by thalamus and it is present at the base. See, if this is the cerebrum, here is the thalamus, and here is the hypothalamus. Remember like this. This is not the exact location, but remember like this. This is at the base of hypothalamus. Sorry, this is at the base of thalamus. At the base of thalamus, and it contains neurosensory nerves which secrete the hypothalamic hormones, and this hypothalamus has many functions in body regulations, in hormone releasing functions, etc. and etc. This neurosensory nerve secrete the hypothalamic hormones. It controls and coordinates the brain to hormones. Okay, and nerve impulses. So these are the three main parts. This is thalamus, this is hypothalamus. Now we have a small part called as the limbic. Sorry. We have a small part called as the limbic system or limbic lobe of the brain. This is also a part of thalamus only. We have limbic lobe. This limbic lobe helps in the behavior, helps in sexual behavior also, helps in regulating sexual behavior. So we include this sexual behavior regulation as a part, and also it is emotions, motivation. Sometimes we get motivated to study, so that is because of this limbic lobe. And we include this in the functions of thalamus only, but in our NCERT it is different, so I am telling you as limbic lobe, sexual behavior and emotions and also motivation. So this is about the forebrain. Before moving, this forebrain is divided into so many some lobes. We have some lobes, not the limbic lobe, but this forebrain is divided into lobes. These lobes are frontal lobe, occipital lobe, parietal lobe, 1, 2, 3, and last one, temporal lobe. We have to remember the functions of these four lobes. We have to remember the functions of these four lobes. Okay, 1 minute. We have to remember the functions of these four lobes. What are the functions of these four lobes? First one, it is frontal lobe. It is present on the front part of our brain, and it helps in thinking, memory and behavior movement we have seen. And now next one is parietal lobe. The parietal region we have seen here. This parietal lobe helps in touch and feeling touch, and it helps in communication with the language, using language. That is the second lobe. Next one, occipital lobe. This occipital lobe is helping in sight. Occipital lobe is helping in sight. Next one, temporal lobe. It is auditory in function. Auditory, hearing and learning. Okay, hearing, learning and feelings. We are remembering something because we are hearing something because of this temporal lobe. Okay, we are learning something because of this temporal lobe. So that is about the forebrain. Now let's move on to the midbrain. This midbrain is very simple. It is simple. Midbrain. This midbrain is very simple. This is located between the thalamus part or the hypothalamus. No. Thalamus. This side is thalamus of the forebrain, and this side is the pons varolii of hindbrain. We will be seeing next. And between these two is the presence of midbrain. This is your midbrain. Between thalamus of the forebrain and pons of the hindbrain. Pons of the hindbrain. Now, a canal which contains the cerebrospinal fluid, the fluid which runs commonly from here, brain to the spinal cord, and that canal passes through this midbrain, and it is called as cerebral aqueduct. Cerebral aqueduct. So this carries cerebrospinal fluid. This actually acts as a shock absorber. We can mark it as prevents insulator. You can say spinal fluid that runs commonly from brain to our spinal cord, and this is nearly 15 centimeters long. This is nearly 15 centimeters long. Okay, remember that. Remember that. Now this dorsal part of the midbrain, consists of 4 lobes, foldings, called as corpora, quadrigemia. You can remember corpora quadrigemia. It is 4 lobes, dorsal side, not ventral. They can confuse you. Dorsally it contains 4 lobes called as corpora quadrigemia. 1 minute. So corpora quadrigemia, they are the dorsally located 4 lobes of the midbrain. So that is it. We have to remember for this midbrain, and we will be talking about hindbrain now. Hindbrain, this is also simple. Then if we complete a hindbrain, in the next lecture I will be starting about the reflex action and reflex arc mechanism, and also the eye effect. Okay, completed midbrain. Now we will be talking about hindbrain. This hindbrain is also divided into 3 parts, as seen in the forebrain. Okay, midbrain you have to only remember those cerebral aqueduct and corpora quadrigemia. You have to remember those, very important. Okay, now we will be moving on to the third part of the brain called as the hindbrain. Hind means back part. It is present here, hindbrain. It is generally divided into 3 parts, mainly 3 parts. 1, pons veroli, or pons we call it as. 2, cerebellum, not cerebrum but cerebellum, and last one is your medulla oblongata. Medulla, we call it as medulla, or you can also say it as medulla oblongata. Medulla oblongata. So these are the 3 parts of the hindbrain. Now let us discuss about one fact. First we will be talking about pons. I will be writing it here. Now talking about pons veroli, this has fibrous tracts to interconnect different regions of the brain. This is important. Fibrous tracts to interconnect different parts of the brain, like it interconnects hindbrain and midbrain, like that, midbrain and hindbrain, like that. Different parts of the brain are interconnected to these fibrous tracts which are present in the pons veroli. Next one, cerebellum. It is very convoluted surface. You have to remember this, convoluted, not the cerebrum but the cerebellum. Contains very congested, very convoluted, very coiled, highly coiled surface, in order to increase more surface area to accumulate or for the accommodation of more neurons. So this cerebellum contains more neurons. The most number of neurons are present in the cerebellum, not the cerebrum. Cerebellum contains more neurons. Remember this. Cerebellum contains more neurons. Okay, got it. Now coming to medulla oblongata, this is connected to the spinal cord. And this contains centers for control of, this is very important, presence of centers for control of the following. First one, respiration. Second one, cardio vascular, cardiovascular reflexes, and gastric secretions. These are the three centers which are present in the medulla oblongata for respiration, controls these respiration processes, cardiovascular reflexes and gastric secretions. If you see, these all are the involuntary functions. They happen without our interference. Without our interference, they happen. So this medulla is very important part. Small brain. Where medulla, small brain, okay, medulla or cerebral. I do not remember small brain exactly. But this medulla contains these centers for these three. One, it is the respiration. This respiration is even controlled by pons varoli also. Remember that one? Pons varoli also controls the respiration. Respiration, cardiovascular reflexes, and the gastric secretions are the three main control centers of medulla oblongata. And vomiting is also controlled by medulla oblongata. Vomiting. We get generally vomited, or when the food does not digest properly. So that is also considered by medulla. So that is why doctors, what they suggest is, whenever there is an accident took place, when there is an accident took place and the person was injured in the brain, the person was injured at the place of brain. So the doctor asks the patient or someone with him that did he vomit somewhere? Did he vomit at some position? This is because if he vomits immediately after the injury, there was an injury at the medulla. Since it contains vomiting, sensory, these part, vomiting part, it controls vomiting part. So immediately doctor thinks that there was an injury at medulla, and then he gives the respective treatment. So that is how this vomiting sensation of the medulla helps the doctors. So that is it for this video. In the next video, we will be talking about reflex action and reflex arc mechanism of our NCERT, and then we will be moving on to different sense organs, nose, eye, ear, etc. So that is it, guys, for this video. If you like the video, please hit that like button and also subscribe to our channel. Biolab and this is Vamsi signing off. Have a great day further. Thank you, guys.